other one was. So I went down pretty good bit, you know. We may do a third, just depends on how close we are.
Okay.
You know, it just really depends. We'll see how your hip is and everything today. But we're a lot closer now to consistently up from, you know, where your measurements were.
Cool.
Yeah, the other one's sticky too. They're claiming that nothing's changed, and I'm going, okay, I fit lots of these, and I think eventually maybe it'll, the stickiness will just come off. They're saying that you even have to wear a sheath over the outside. I've never worn a sheath over the outside of these, as long as I've been fitting them. So I don't really know where all that's coming from.
Yeah.
You know, they slide pretty well, full water. I think we'll be fine. And then we'll go from there. I can't remember if I've got you on the right post or not, so we'll just adjust this height as we go.
Okay.
So that's protocol every time you get into it, just like that.
Okay.
And then we'll stand up. It looks like that's where we'll test. Lunch pretty good. I took a little bit off. Feel like you're sitting on the bone now?
Pretty good. It might be slight bit more that could go, but it's pretty.
As far as in, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Probably pretty close. I mean, you're pretty close to the end. I don't, you know, I kind of hang you in there. I don't want to. I want to hang, you know, where you can get into it. So.
Yeah, that's pretty good right there.
Can I raise it one, or do you think that height?
I think raise it one.
Let's try it and see. Obviously, I can't control the length. Raising it that way. But I kind of want you to, you know, sit your weight on it pretty good.
Yeah, that's just more.
Now you feel it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of like a bicycle seat, or, you know, and what I did, I actually brought that up under you a little bit more. The whole top was just too big.
Okay.
So I really carved it up under you, so you were sitting on it. I think you were just kind of falling off of it before, you know, last week. So that's a little closer. You can see now, even with his length, he's, you know, a little bit of air under him. I probably won't bring it all the way till you're just sitting on it. Just for, you know, give you a little bit of space. But it'll be pretty close. You'll probably, as you start walking, you'll start dropping in a little bit further anyway, so.
Okay.
That looks pretty good. That actually looks really good. Let's see what your hip's doing. Yeah, so a lot better at the hip. May still be a little bit big. Not by much though. Still got a little bit of excess room. I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna bring it out just a little bit. Just kind of more like if you were standing there, you know, hanging out. And that's also gonna pull your hip in a little bit more.
Okay.
And so if you do it like that, it kind of tilts that socket out. So really want you to kind of be, you know, you don't have a foot, but obviously about the width, you know, that you would just comfortably kind of hang out, you know. That's probably a little closer right there, you know. And that should have brought your hip in a little bit better. Where you actually, yeah, it's a little closer. I'll still probably, so that's where your ML support's gonna come from.
Okay.
So I'll probably bring that in a little bit. I don't want it, you know, like that, but I want it, you know, kind of hitting you right there. So it's still a little bit wide. It's a lot better than it was, because it was pretty massive. Front's good. So right in here, you know, be a little bit tighter. That's gonna be flexible in there, but should have a little bit of room. You know, obviously don't want it to be too big, but when you sit and things like that, you know, I don't want it to be crammed up against you. But we want it to snow because you're gonna shrink. Okay. This is not gonna come down as much as this, but we still want it to give you stability, you know, from front to back. One more check socket to come back in. Let me just snug it up a little bit more. Just to that hip. It's really pretty close. And I don't know if this will work, sometimes that liner will stick a little bit, and it is sticky, so, lift it up, see if that holds. Just hold it a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
So that's gonna be similar, it'll hold a lot better than that, but that's kind of the preface of how it works. Without doing the double wall and the cap, and I can't simulate that for you,
Okay.
but this thing will hold on like, I mean, it's, this socket, the suction's great, even if you don't put any pressure on it. And then with the pin, you know, it holds on super good,
Okay.
so. All right, so when you're just standing, you know, how's it feel? Comfort level and, you know.
Bad. More trying to feel the inside.
That's gonna get a little bit better, like I said, we'll have flexible in there,
Yeah.
so that loosens up and it's not, you know, like you're sitting on
Okay.
a knife edge, but, kind of getting the idea of what, you know, what to expect. At least you're standing there,
Yeah.
you're standing, wearing your weight, I mean, you know, hence it's on a crutch, but,
Yeah.
you know, nevertheless, not bad at all.
Yeah.
Um,
Wanna walk.
what's that?
I don't wanna walk.
Yeah, I know. That's coming, I don't have everything yet for your setup,
Okay.
but probably what we're gonna do is get you back in for another check socket anyways. I think I wanna get that hip a little bit tighter. It's a little bit more than I want. I think you're gonna end up getting a little, you know, when you go across the mid stance, that socket's gonna come out a little bit.
Okay.
I really want it to be holding a little bit tighter, you know, just so you don't see it on your, you know, through your pants and things like that.
Okay.
And then two, probably will bring your alignment out just a little bit. I know you're gonna be doing a lot of activities, but you need that good balance.
Okay.
So bringing your foot out, I don't know, you kind of see how that, where it originates and comes down.
Yeah.
I don't want you to have to always like open your stance to have better support.
Okay.
So what a lot of times I do, I just bring the whole pylon out a little bit so that it's not centered.
Okay.
And honestly, if you took all the tissue away from us, you know, that's kind of how our skeletal system runs anyways. Yeah, we open and close, but with a prosthesis, it's more work to have to do that. So I kind of build it in so it's just there for you.
Okay.
And then you've just got more balance and stability if you're on an even terrain and things like that, just because your base support is a little bit wider. I'll probably run that just a little bit more, because it's almost originating, now that you've got weight on it, it's almost just outside of center, but I'm gonna bump you out a little bit,
All right.
on the next one. And we're really close, like really close, to being able to send it off. I mean, once I get it where I like the measurements, and they're probably gonna tweak it back a little bit. I kind of put my own touches on the top to, you know, around the hip and all. I took the height down some, you didn't need all this extra plastic sitting up here, so I'll probably take it off, you know, that much. And kind of turned it into my socket. They're probably gonna try to shift it back into their evolution socket. I always say, leave my trim lines alone and leave it like it is, but, yeah, we're real close. The longer you've been standing on it, that should drop down a little bit.
Oh, drop down more.
There you go. So that bottom is not, you don't have as much space there as you think.
Okay.
Typically, you didn't even walk, you just stood there for a few minutes. That's why I plugged the hole, pull it away, and sometimes it'll just give you a quick little drop. So I may not even mess with the length, since it's still a check socket.
I can feel myself moving it down and
Are you? Yeah, you probably migrate a little bit. And that's the thing too, you know, now,
kind of happy I did, because there's I've started thinking about it, I think it's where they wrap my muscles up.
right,
At the end, it's hard at the end of my stump there, and so I could feel it in there at first, but once it dropped down, I don't really feel it, so.
so it's not bothering you, man. You got some scar tissue and some stuff, and, you know, early on when you were pretty sensitive to touch, that's what I was saying. You know, I mean, you're gonna be, yes, you're not gonna be bearing weight on the end, but you're gonna be like total contact in the socket, so, Some of that's probably stuff we'll have to kind of work through. As long as you're not sitting on the bottom, I think a lot of that will start to kind of go away. You know, so I think we'll be okay. But you're close enough to the bottom now, I probably won't even touch the end. You're about where I want you. You know, so, let's do one more check, sorry.
Okay.
I honestly, I didn't bill for 30, I'm just doing this one because I want you to be a little closer than where you are now.
Cool.
You know, too, and, hopefully all the parts will be in, I can, at least, I'll get your knee out and show it to you.
Cool.
You know, you can see kind of the finished deal.
Is there a way to I can tape like a calf muscle on the back of it?
It's pretty, I mean, it's a pretty rigorous knee.
Okay.
I mean, it's, with the, ruggedized cover, it's not like a feeble man's knee. It's like, I mean, it's kind of like Batman. I mean, it's pretty, you know, it's a fairly bulky, you know.
Okay.
So I don't think you'll, it was pretty cool. I mean, you know.
Sounds good.
I would not have a problem walking around and I would be like totally, like, this is like a man's leg.
Okay.
You know, yeah, it looks pretty cool.
All right.
Now, if you have any, and I'm just letting you stand, you can sit whenever you want. I mean, you're all good. I just thought, go ahead. I mean, you stand as long as you want. I mean, the weight bearing is not hurting anything. It kind of gets you used to being up. So, the exterior, you know, you can do the socket different ways. You know, you've seen some of the ones in the office in there. I mean, if you have a preference on that kind of thing, you know, I can have them do it. Typically, you know, these I do like my soldiers and what have you. I just do a black carbon socket, and then the knees, pretty much everything's black carbon. It looks pretty sweet.
I'm good with that.
I got you a rotator. I hope we're gonna have enough clearance. We should. It's gonna be real close by the time they put the bottom on the socket and all. Now looking at your length, I went with it anyways. Sometimes people are like, yeah, I'd like to have the rotator because adds so much, you know, capability. It may mean your shin from your knee down has to be a little shorter to keep your height right. But basically it's a part that goes on above your knee and below the socket. And what it is, it's gray, it's kind of a dark gray. There's just one piece. You can push it and rotate the leg around 360.
Oh.
So if you were, you know, if you were in a tight area, it's kind of why I did it for you is, you know, if you're working, I don't know how tight an area you have to get into sometimes, but you could actually, if it was kind of in the way and you were sitting, you can just click it, rotate it around and set it on your shoulder.
All right.
I mean, it's you know, I used to have some soldiers that would do it and they would drive with it and you know, they'd be driving and they'd have their leg up here, keeping it out of the way, and people would look over at them and here's their foot and their shoe and a little bit of kind of illusional thrill with people, but it's pretty neat to have when you want to change your shoes. You don't have to get to it. You just press the button, flip it around, untie your shoe, take it off, put your shoe on, and then it locks in place. I'll have it wherever we get your final alignment to be most optimal, it'll lock in place right there.
Okay.
So it's 360 every way, except for when you roll it back in, and it'll just click, and it'll lock back in place. So it's almost impossible to get it unlocked, you know, like if you were walking, unless you push the button.
Gotcha.
So, but it's pretty cool for changing shoes. You know, like I said, if you were in a tight area and you kind of needed it to be out of the way, you could just rotate it and set it out. I mean, you can set it sideways, put it on the car seat. You know, anywhere that it will rotate bent, you could put it. So, you know, if you were a passenger and somebody had a console and it was just kind of in the way, you could just flip it up and move it out of the way. And that's probably not bad. Go ahead and sit and just kind of see what it's like. The rough ones will be hard, anything hard, bleacher seat, you know, a wooden chair, I mean, things like that. Obviously, some of that back shelf is gonna be a little bit impinging, but most of your, you know, soft chairs and things like that, You won't notice it too much.
Yeah, I can see, feel it, but yeah, it's not bad.
It'll push you up a little bit on that side, but, our hips are made to do that, so I mean, most people will just, they'll get past it, yeah, let's do one more check socket, like I said, I don't have to change a whole lot, I just wanna make that hip a little bit tighter through that ML, and, I think great socket wise, I think we're right on, and then, hopefully I'll have everything, I'll just try to have everything put together at least so you can, there's not a good way to keep that much weight under you and walk. You see how the pylon it even starts to pull off, because it's really not, at this time, it's not really suction. If I had you in a seal inliner where we had the seal, I probably couldn't pull that off of you. I mean, I'd be fighting it. But there's not a great way to do it at this stage with this type of socket.
Okay.
So you just gotta kind of bear with me and we'll get it.
Yeah.
We'll get it. I know you wanna walk, and I can only imagine, we're getting there. But the sending it off and all, I mean, it'll all come together, and on one day, you'll just be euphoric, and you'll be like, holy crap, this is awesome.
Cool.
All right,
Yeah.
that's pretty much it. Pull the tape, with this tight, and then, one out of it, and, yeah, we did good. We did, I think we're super close. Super close, I'm excited.
Yeah.
So, there you go. Just keep doing what you're doing. Let's see. Today's what, Tuesday?
Yes, sir.
I've got a soldier coming from out of town tomorrow. I've got like 3 sockets to make for him, so we're hammered tomorrow, Thursday. Might be able to get you in Friday.
Cool.
Just to do the last fitting, and then I'll pretty much be ready to send it off. I don't know if everything will be here as far as the knee goes. I mean, do you wanna wait for that, or would you rather just like, let's get moving and get the socket made?
Yeah, I'm all about this going, so.
Okay, probably looking at, once I send it off, so if I fit you Friday, get everything boxed up and send everything off, maybe Monday morning. Usually looking at about a 10-day time period for them, and then getting it back to me, so probably looking at, 10 to 13 days.
Okay.
When I get it back, then really honestly, it's just a matter of getting you in and programming the knee and setting your height and, doing some preliminary, walking in here. And when I say that, I mean, you'll be able to do anything you can do with therapy. You
Okay.
just, you'll take it like that with therapy, and then they'll show you, honestly, Jared, it's gonna be more like, I mean, the walking, I don't think for you is gonna be a big stretch. I think you're gonna do pretty well. Yeah, you have to learn how the knee works and, kind of figure out some things, but, I don't think it's gonna be a big, learning curve for you.
Cool.
Stairs and, with you and working, I mean, I'm assuming you have to go down your knee a good bit and stuff like that. Yeah, that's a learning curve for sure, because it's not the same as it used to be, getting back up and, I mean, that's like the fine tuning stuff of therapy.
Okay.
Car, driving, I mean, kind of vehicle you have.
Follow.
So, I mean, you should have plenty of room. It's your, I mean, it's an automatic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I mean, really, it'll just be the fitting, in the vehicle, but,
I gotta figure out how to drive a stick shift, there's a Porsche waiting on me, so I'll figure out a stick shift.
okay, well, then, that one we'll have to work on. Yeah,
I saw a guy with 2 prosthetics driving a stick shift, so it can be done.
the only part about the knee is that, it doesn't really lock.
Okay.
I mean, you can, but, yeah, that one takes a little bit of doing.
Okay.
Being a left-footed, the clutch being left-footed. He might have been bilateral below the knee, And see, then it's just
Gotta be
simply,
out.
you have your knee, so it's just a matter of pushing the pedal. Now, you have to know where the pedal is.
Yeah,
But the only thing about having a knee, you know, already in a bent state is that it's gonna be flexible. So if you push it a clutch, it, you know, could just make the knee bend further.
Yeah.
We'll have to work on that. I would highly suggest that you do that in a big parking lot with nobody around.
The older part,
Yeah.
one that nobody really is wanting.
Yeah, kill switch, I mean, you know, the whole. Yeah, you know, here's the thing, whatever, I got amazing people that figure out how to do stuff that, you know, I mean, honestly, that's where you get your good intel from, is your patients that have figured out how to climb into deer stands and go deer hunting and pull deer out of the woods, and, I mean, you know, everything really. I mean, you know, I've got a bilateral arm patient that, when I get a bilateral, I'm like, let me call George, see if he'll go to the hospital. I mean, he can give you better information than I'll ever, you know, I don't know enough, I don't live with it every day, so, you know, your amputees, honestly, they figure out all sorts of stuff, so I'm sure I've got some guys that are driving sticks. I mean, some of it's just to learn to overcome and adapt, you know.
Yeah.
So you'll do that with everything. You'll figure out a way that works best for you around the house, in cars, at job. I mean, you know, I'm just gonna give you like the demographics to get out, and then anything I know that I've been told, you know, so, hey, everything's feasible. I'm not gonna tell you you can't do anything, because I'd be getting proved wrong all the time.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, the driving, getting in and out of the car, I mean, all that kind of stuff. The sea leg has the way it works, it's kind of got a friction, it's hydraulic, but it's, so when you lift up, it, you know, it's like one of these things where you can take it, you can pull it, you know, the problem with, you can shift it into like free swing, but if you forget to take it out of free swing and then you get out, you might be free on the ground.
Gotcha.
So I usually don't recommend like switching it to get in and out of the car. Some of it's gonna come, you know, so I can program the knee to be not very stable, and then you lift it up, it'll drop faster. However, it's also gonna walk that way.
Gotcha.
So the neat thing about the sea leg or the X3 or any of them, so we'll test you sitting in the chair, and we'll see how fast you like to sit down or how slow you like to sit down. Some people just plop down in the chair, you know. Some people like to slowly, you know, actually methodically kind of sit. Well, the neat thing is I can set up the leg to basically go at the same speed as you're driving the leg.
Okay.
And actually, so it just, you go down evenly instead of your prosthetic side, you know. And that's only possible with sea leg.
Okay.
Because I can set it that way. Stability wise, when you're walking, I can make the knee really stable, you know, I can make it kind of loose. All these things affect this speed. Okay. So the looser I make it, the faster that goes. More stable, if you like it more stable, you know, it's gonna drop a little slower.
If you're standing there, does it have the ability to be in like an athletic position, I guess, with your legs, your knees bent?
So you can put it in multiple positions.
Okay.
You have to change it into those positions. So there's different settings. So there's like a cross-country skiing, there's like bicycling, which would basically be free swing.
Okay.
And you just put it in free swing mode, you get on, you know, and it just moves, you power with the, you know, your sound side, and the knee just kind of goes with you. There's extended standing, where basically you just lock the knee.
Okay.
There's ice skating, I don't even remember them all, they keep changing and adding more.
Got it.
So yes, is there one that you could potentially use for bowling?
Well, I mean, I hadn't thought about that. I was actually just thinking like in golf, I mean, because you're generally in an
Yeah.
athletic position and
Yeah.
that stays bent.
It
So-
does, but it's gonna stay like that
Okay.
too. So, I mean, once you put it in free swing, it's in free swing. That's what I was saying a minute ago. If you got out of the car and forgot it was in free swing, which has happened to people before, they're like, well, I'll just put it in free swing and I can manipulate it. Well, when you get out and then step on it to try to walk, yeah, it's in free swing, so there's no stability whatsoever. So if you forget, most likely.
Yeah.
So you have to be careful, you know, when you put it into these modes, which is what they call them. They're not your standard mode, you know, that's whatever we place you in as your, you know, when your settings go in, and you can put it in this mode and that mode and that mode. There's a bunch of them, like you go, you know, I only need 7 modes. So a lot of times we'll just do the first 2, or something like that. And then as you go along, if you need a different mode later on, you know, we can always add it. But that's the only thing, is that once it's in that mode, it's in that mode.
Okay.
So if you're in bent leg standing, yeah, you could sit on it in a bent leg situation. But then if you need to walk, well, it's still gonna be bent leg.
Gotcha.
So that's the only thing about the modes, is it's kind of a permanent mode. It's not, it doesn't, you know, you don't move it back and forth.
Gotcha.
So I think there's downhill skiing or something like that, where it actually is kind of bent, and it'll kind of, you know, bounce for you, but you can't straighten it. You can't bend it any farther.
Okay.
Couple of them you can straighten up, but then if you straighten it up, I think they still have that mode. Now it locks wherever you know, the straighter you go, then it locks. So it depends on, you know, how much bend you actually want. We'll get to those, and
Okay.
you know, but that's the change of the modes. You have to. It kind of, you know, it's kind of a permanent feature until you change it back.
Okay.
So it's, you know, we could look at those and see, you know, what works best for your different activities. What I'm gonna try to do is have everything where it's meets your needs without having to change modes. So whether it's sitting or, you know, climbing stairs, or get in your car, that we kind of have a fine, you know, give and take a little bit, is what I try to do. Modes you'll be fine with them, if you're a smart guy, you won't have any problems. But the modes get a little bit interesting, because if you forget, like I said, you know, it changes things. So, we'll get on all that. Of course, you'll have a big manual that you can read, and it'll tell you all the specifics, like.
You read instructions.
Yeah, I don't like them either. I mean, for this stuff, it's, it changes so much, honestly, you really need to. I don't, you know, take refresher courses on this stuff, and sometimes I'll make changes, and then, you know, I'm seeing it, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's different. You know, typically, it's like, how long does your battery last? And so it'll alert you if it's, you know, if your battery's starting to run out of power, you know, it'll alert you with a sequence of beeps and vibrations. We can turn the beep off, you know, and you don't have to have the beep. The vibrations, you know, if I have older patients, usually use the beeps and the vibrations, just, but they might be hard of hearing, and so, you know, it gets interesting, but we can turn it up and down. You know, that's totally up to you. But, you know, the battery should last a certain amount of days. You know, I think on the X3 it's like up to 5 days, you know, without recharging it.
Okay.
But here's the thing, it's like your cell phone, you know.
More used.
Yeah, now they're lithium ion, so there's no memory with the battery. So NiCad, you know, they had memory, and so people would pull their phone off charger before it was charged all the way, or they put it back on before, you know, it was dead, and then they charge it all night, and 3 hours later, you know, it's dead. Well, that's because the memory slowly went like this, and the battery only had a 3-hour window. It didn't matter if you charged it, you know, for 24 hours. Lithium ion's a little bit different. Doesn't matter how much you charge it, there's no memory with it. So what we recommend is every night when you come out of it, you charge it.
Okay.
And then it's always, you know.
That's what I do with this and thought
Yeah,
and everything.
yeah, absolutely. So it's the norm. I mean, you know, just treat it like your cell phone. Now, that being said, if you didn't charge it, you know, and let's say worst case scenario, and this part of this was for the guys, because this actually, they sent guys back into combat with this knee. I mean, it was designed by the Army, really. Autobot, you know, did it for the Army, but it's dust-proof, waterproof, you know, and it charges for multiple days on end. So if they were out in the desert and we're not able to, you know, charge it every night, that it would actually last for several days. So, you know, chances are you'll never run out of power. Now, the more active you are, you know, like anything else, you use your phone a ton, you wear the battery down faster. But I don't think you'll ever have an issue like actually running out of power unless you just don't ever charge it.
Okay.
And then that's kind of on you anyway. So, But the manual will give you, there's a kind of a quick read manual, and it'll tell you, you know, that kind of stuff. It's not hard to use.
Okay.
You charge it and you wear it, you know. It's cool, you know, I mean, not that I wanna be an amputee, but if I was, I mean, the limb you're getting is, I'd be like, that's the one I want. You know, yeah, it's a nice letter, so. You guys got any questions?
No, not really. Just, same one as always when can I walk?
Yeah.
So,
I know, just eager. Well, we'll head up front and, see what I got Friday.
Okay.
Tell me Friday if you can.
Yeah,
That'll work for you.
everything going, so.
It'll be, you know, about like today. Really, it should be pretty quick, so all I'm gonna do is mostly take that hip in some. See what I got, we'll get you scheduled, and then, hopefully I can put everything else together. I check on your parts, there's a couple of things still outstanding.
Okay.
But, we'll get all that together so you can actually see what, you know, what it looks like in real.
Cool.
Now, it's heavy,
Well, I was just wondering, if where I lost was 30 pounds, how much is that in comparison?
yeah, you know, I think the X3, you know, the knee itself, I wanna say, it got a little heavier because of the capabilities. I wanna say it's like 4 pounds, something like that. It might be 4.5. I'll have to check it. There's so many of them now, and as they added things and they got, you know, more capabilities, the waterproof and all that, the weight went up on them a little bit. And of course, the X3 is the most robust, you know, one that's available. You know, so you're looking at with the socket, and your socket's a little bit heavier, you know, as far as, what it does. It's not your typical socket. It's either got suction or it doesn't. Yours is kind of a multi-purpose, you know, it's a little bit heavier. The socket's here, so you don't notice it.
Okay.
The knee's here, so it's not quite as bad, you know. The foot that I've got for you is a vertical shock foot, so, you know, it's got moving parts. I mean, you're probably looking at, you know, I hate to guess, I mean, you know, probably 12 or 13 pounds. Not nearly what you lost, however, also I can't reattach it like it was. So
Yeah.
your skeletal system, you know, it's just built in, so you really don't notice it. So because this does pull on you, yeah, you're gonna go, you know, there's some weight there. For you and age and, you know, your activity level, I think you'll be so just excited about living again, that you'll be like, whatever. I mean, and function too. I mean, my guys that have, even below the knee, that have, you know, the IT stuff with batteries and motors and, you know, there's a bionic foot, that, I've got some BK soldiers on, and you know, one of my concerns was, okay, how much energy expenditure are we gonna burn because this foot weighs 4 pounds?
Oh, man.
You know, and, it's distal, so you got kind of a pendulum thing, and, you know, so that was one of my biggest concerns. And when I started doing them, I'm kind of I like lightweight, but technology is not light.
Yeah.
Clearly, so, you know, when we started doing them, you know, I asked a lot, and I used to do trials with that foot. It's a $42,000 foot, so I would do trials with the patient and actually have the company come down, and we'd put it under and walk them, and that was part of the deal. You know, if you want me to buy it, I want to try it. You know?
Yeah.
And, you know, one of my first questions was always, okay, in comparison to what you have, which is a, you know, 2-pound foot with a shoe on it, you know, how much do you really feel that this is 5 pounds? And most of them said, because, you know, and typically what I always hear is because the function is so good,
Yeah.
don't even notice the weight.
Yeah, just to get back. You went
So-
there.
What's that?
So just to get back to normal, you would.
Yeah, I don't think you'll, honestly, I don't even think you'll think about it, the day that, my first response for you is not gonna be, oh, this is really heavy.
Yeah.
But I get that with every leg. I mean, typically, everybody, even if it's a super light leg, you go, man, this thing's heavy, but it's just the kind of the pull that you're gonna feel. you know, I'm not an amputee, but I would probably have to, you know, relate it to or assimilate it to if you fell in a pond with wet clothes on.
Okay.
You know, you get out and there's just kind of this drag. It's happened to all of us. Well, maybe I've happened to me before. Pool pond, whatever. You get out, you know, everything's full of water. And you go, man, these clothes got heavy all of a sudden. You know, that's kind of.
Okay.
Was there a game stopper? No, get back in, Lord. You know. So I think you'll be fine. Most of it's just going to be getting used to, you know, the function of the knee. The knee's a floater, so some people, what I mean by floater, it doesn't have like unless you change to a locked, you know, position, one of the modes, it doesn't have a locking situation. You know, there are some knees that when it's locked, it's locked. When it's unlocked, it's unlocked. Some people really like that because when it's locked, they know it's locked. One of my veterans said that, we put him in a sea leg, he hated it. The reason he hated it because the way a sea leg works, it's on a piston, so it's a floater. So if you are walking and you come across and don't maintain, you know, your weight, what's happens is people will sit on that shelf and they'll do like this. And, you know, the knee's gonna collapse under them. It's not meant to just automatically hold you up because it doesn't, at the point that they're doing that, the knee hasn't been told, you know, it's not trying to straighten out fear of falling or anything like that. It's just, you're just gonna put your weight on it. And so it's gonna let you drop. So basically what I'm saying is that, you know, part of it is just you maintaining your hips, your stride, and not riding the, you know, that shelf. You're gonna walk, and it's gonna enable you to walk. But you carry yourself like y'all did. So all you're gonna do, you're gonna bear weight on it to get across. You know, and we actually pull ourselves across, you know, by tightening up our glutes. And that's why, you know, we roll across. Well, you really should have your leg locked. But you get some patients that are a little bit older and they tend to walk lazy a little bit, so they don't really pull. They just kind of, you know, and so this type of knee doesn't always work great for them, just because of that. But I think you'll have no worries. I mean, you know, it's gonna be a good day. You know.
Yeah, I'm ready.
2 to 3 weeks we'll be doing this, and you'll be walking around.
This guy came up to me in the bowling alley the other day, and I didn't know it. I looked back, he was there, and I was like, "Can I help you?" He's like, "Oh, I saw you, you know, bowling and teaching your son and stuff, and you're down here with one leg." He's like, "I got both." I'm like, "And you're bowling, all right." I love it. I didn't get to see him do it or how he did it, but I was like,
very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had a bunch of them. You know, I've had people bowl from wheelchairs. I've had them do just about. I mean, you know, he was probably below the knee on both sides.
I think he was above the way you get up here and had plastic.
Right. Might have been.
I don't know.
Yeah.
You know.
Did you watch him bowl?
No, he was done when he came and saw me.
Okay.
You know, him and his wife had come up there.
Yeah, you could probably tell. I mean, you know, if he just depending. You'll get where you can pick out other amputees. I mean, you know, now that it's more personal, most people can't tell. I mean, you know, if you have someone that walks good. I told you I've got a guy that walks on 2 of these above the knee, and he raised 3 children, and I mean, they were, well, basically, his wife was deployed, and so he took care of let's see, I think a 9-month-old, a 2-year-old, and a 3-year-old by himself, and worked, and raised 3 babies. Well, I had a hard time raising one. My baby girl, I'm like 3, and you don't have either leg, and you know,
I can imagine.
you know, shoot.